Heads up. If Dad Space inspires attempts at home repairs without instructions, please have a qualified adult, or at least YouTube, standing by.
It's time to rethink men's health. Because it doesn't just affect men, it affects us all. When men are well, the benefits ripple through families and communities. But when men are unwell and unsupported, we all feel it. We're all the real face of men's health. Be part of the solution with Movember.
Hey, welcome back to Dad Space, podcast for dads by dads. It's Dave. I'm glad you're here. 30 episodes, 30 days. It's Movember. It's November. It's the same thing in two different forms, but it's all about men's mental health, physical health this month. Glad you're here with us on Dad Space. First time here? Well, hey, lots for you to check out in the past. Over 200 episodes here on Dad Space. And what we do here is we focus on you and create a space for all dads to connect with each other, to share best practices, how we can be a better dad, how we can do life better with our kids, all of those things, while still supporting each other as dads. That's the whole focus, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the show. We're going to be talking today about talking to your sons about masculinity and healthy manhood and why that's important. I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about this together. Thanks for pressing play. This November, as part of our Movember series, we're diving into one of the biggest conversations we can have as dads. Super important. How to talk to our sons about masculinity and healthy manhood, because the world is changing so fast, and how we define being a man needs to grow with it at the same time. So let's kick this off by exploring what masculinity really means today and how our sons are seeing it from their perspective in the world. So let's first of all talk about refining what is masculinity and redefining it, actually, and focusing on this. As a kid born in 1969, actually 4 weeks before 1970, in the 70s, growing up in 70s, 80s, and 90s, those 3 decades, being a man and growing up in that context had significant differences than what it does today. And I think as a young parent with young boys in your home, how you model a healthy version of masculinity is super important. And what being a man meant back in 1970 when I was a child compared to what it means now, there's been significant growth. We know more. We hopefully are better than what we were in the past. And we continue to learn from our mistakes. We continue to learn as the world changes about what it is to be a healthy guy, with healthy masculinity, with a healthy sense of our place in this world and how we relate to others, and what it means to be a healthy human being. Back in the 70s, 80s, there was a lot of toughness and stoicism and protection, and that was how men were defined, as being that source of strength in relationships. And terminology like females would be the weaker sex. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe back then that's how the world saw the females around us. And I don't think that's really accurate. I have met some of the toughest women who have more strength and ability than any man that I've met. And so I think that we've grown. Do we have more space to grow? Oh, obviously. But I see it as a different world in 2025 than it was in 1970. And that's a good thing. And that should be encouraged, that should be supported, that should be celebrated, that we're doing something better than we did in the past. This whole thing growing up for me was boys don't cry. And I think that this statement, you fall off your bike, skin your knee, and your parents walk up to you and go, "Ah, you're fine. Big boys don't cry." That foundational statement really has held a lot of men back, I think, growing up in my generation, that we don't show emotion. We don't let those things demonstrate, and we don't have good sense of our feelings and what really matters. And that wasn't encouraged back then. And that created its own world of problems, which I think parents are doing better today than we did back in 1970. But you got to remember, in 1970, what did we know, right? And we are the product of the generation before us and what they knew. They tried to make things better. And the one thing you're going to find out quickly as a dad is, despite your best efforts, your kids are going to want to do it better than you did. And you're thinking, man, I'm doing so much better than how I was raised. Yeah, but your kids are going to say the same thing about you and about their kids and so on. And that's healthy. We're getting better a little bit at a time. So this whole thing about, big boys don't cry, then did that serve us? I don't think so. This whole acting tough thing. I think there's a softer side of guys that's never really been encouraged based on how I grew up and where I grew up. It wasn't really encouraged as it is today. We need to tell our sons, you don't have to be perfect, just be real. I think that's one thing that our world is looking for, is reality. It's not just a TV show on Friday nights that we watch people stranded on an island trying not to get voted off. That's not reality. Reality is us showing up and being a good human and treating people better than we treat ourselves. I don't think you can go wrong if that is your focus, is that when you arrive on site in the room, that people are better because you're there. It's pretty hard to argue and complain about somebody who makes life better for others. So once you start redefining what masculinity looks like, the real work is in helping our sons understand what's going on in their hearts and how to talk about it, to give words to feelings. That's not something that men are particularly well gifted at. Women tend to be able to do this better. And we have a lot to learn from that side of us and uncover that and develop that more. So we talk about redefining what masculinity is, but how do we build on emotional intelligence as a dad with our sons? We need to normalize what emotional literacy is, and by teaching our sons to name and express feelings. So this whole thing about conversations with our kids, especially as they get older, it's interesting, the format and the way we talk to our kids changes over time. When they're little, we're face-to-face. And then as our kids grow older, that face-to-face can feel a little confrontational. So a side-by-side approach, like going for a ride in the car with your son for a long drive, and being able to talk without having to look eye to eye with your son and allowing them just to open up with the freedom of not being confrontational, shoulder to shoulder in the car, is a different setting, which opens the door for better conversation as your kids get older. So take advantage of those long drives, or create a long drive just to have this moment and have those talks side by side in the car, on a walk, playing catch, whatever. It's a little less confrontational, and it's a better opportunity for a receptive audience. And ask open-ended questions of your kids when you have these conversations. Like, what made you proud today? Or was there anything that bugged you this week? These kind of open-ended questions really help. And another little tip as well is to ask about what their friends are experiencing. It's a little less confrontational. Tell me about what your friends are wrestling with. Tell me what's going on with your friends in school, with your friends in social media, your friends and alcohol. It's not so much about them, it's about their community, their environment. And they're a little more open to talk about these things. And use your own emotions as examples. For example, I got frustrated today, and here's how I handled it well. Here's how I didn't handle it well. By you showing and taking the step forward, you open the door to conversation. So use your own emotions and reinforce the emotional awareness that's built through real confidence and leadership. Emotional intelligence is key to how we treat others, especially in the world where our sons are growing up in. It's another huge piece of healthy manhood and healthy masculinity. The next step in here, too, is to model respect and equity in all the things we do. I think as men, we struggle with our place in this world. As the world's changing and as things adapt, little things, like you're on a plane and it's time to get the bags out of the overhead compartment and you see someone, man or woman, struggling with heavy luggage or something and trying to get it out. Do we just jump in and help? Or do we ask permission to help? Or do we ignore them and let them do it themselves? Because who am I to impose on you that you're not capable in this moment to do whatever the task is? So I'm just going to jump in and save the day. We need to model respect and equity and equality with what we do in our lives. Respect is the foundation of modern masculinity in today's world. In friendships, in dating, family, online interactions, comes back always to respect. A respectful person will be accepted. And even if they make mistakes, when they're coming with a respectful desire to be a respectful person and helpful, that will also combat any missteps that we take when we're not sure. And respect really starts at home. That's where it begins. It begins on how it's demonstrated to us through our family, but it also begins on how we execute respect within the confines of our own home. How we treat our partner as dads, how we treat our spouse, how we treat our own parents, how we treat people at a restaurant serving, how we treat people on the road who cut us off. Respect begins with us. Another part of healthy masculinity around modeling respect and equality is to be careful with this whole boys being boys moments as our kids grow up. When there is the opportunity to do so and it's required, to correct things gently and use these opportunities as teachable moments instead of shaming our kids. As dads, one of the biggest lessons that we can pass down to our kids is that of asking for help, showing emotion, and caring for each other. It doesn't make us weak, it makes us human. And the fourth pillar in all of this is just around mental health, vulnerability, and community. Something that's really important in the month of November, for Movember, but even past this month. It's something that we should really lean into. Mental health, vulnerability, and community. Mental health is an everyday part of manhood conversations between fathers and sons. When we model vulnerability to our kids, it allows for sharing when they feel stressed or unsure. It opens the door to show that dad's a real person. There's power in community in all of this. As we encourage our sons and dads to find supportive male friendships, this is an underlying component of us reaching out and finding the resources we need. for example, like Movember we're talking about. This is a month designed to bring about discussion about men's health, physical, mental, everything. And the whole idea of getting involved with growing a mustache over the month of November is a way for us to be aware of men's mental health requirements and what we need, and to support it financially, to be a part of the solution, and to use this as a discussion starter. It's the whole reason why Movember's around. I want you to understand that in all things, when we talk about healthy masculinity, it's the small things that have the biggest impact. So some reflections on this. A Dad's-based challenge for you here in Movember is to have one honest 10-minute conversation with your son about what it means to be a man in today's society. And then to listen more than you talk within those 10 minutes. Shouldn't it be 9.5 minutes of you talking and a small portion of your son having a chance to speak? And write down 3 traits that you want your son to carry into adulthood, and share those 3 traits with your son. And come up with a way of working on this so that it becomes a reality for you and your son. This Movember, let's break the silence around men's health, mental, emotional, and physical, and let's check in with our buddies. Talk openly with our sons, and remember that being there, being truly there, is what is going to make you the man your son is looking up to. I want to leave you with a resource as we head out the door. It's another podcast. It's called the All Pro Dad Podcast, and I'll have a link to the episode that I would love for you to go listen to. It's only 34 minutes. The podcast episode is entitled, Should Dads Be Worried About the Manosphere? And I was listening to this at work this week. Really enjoyed it. I'll have a link for you in the show notes for the All Pro Dad Podcast. And really love what these guys talk about. There's a somewhat faith-based aspect to what they talk about, but I got to tell you, it's not preachy. It's not something that's like that at all. These guys are just showing up, talking about all things dad, and it's a good conversation. So I'd love for you to go check it out. And again, that episode, Should Dads Be Worried About the Manosphere? And I have a link for you in the notes. They go way more in detail about this, and I'd love for you to go check it out and see what you think. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about this show, about Movember, and about the All Pro Dad Podcast as well. And thank you so much for being part of the show. Thank you for being here. And share this episode with somebody that is looking for a supportive dad podcast. And again, thank you for being part of the show. Happy Movember. Happy November. We'll talk again soon. See you tomorrow.
Hello. I'm classically trained actor and fine woodworker Nick Offerman. A few of you may know me as Ron Swanson from NBC's Parks and Recreation, but let's be honest, most of you know me for this. And this Movember, I'm here to instruct you on how to properly grow your very own. Developing my mustache required years of training. I brought it to Scotland, where sheep herders tamed its unruly ways. I then studied with Tibetan monks who combed it like a Zen garden. Every day I washed it with cologne, whale oil, and beef, and dried it over a campfire of peat and turf. And the bulk of you will end this month with something atrocious on your lip. The rest of you will be passable, but in the spirit of awareness, I wanted to offer a few simple ideas of my own that can help a novice grow a full and thicker mustache. Hammer and nail. Send a regular handwritten letter. Capture a household bug, then set it free. Tolerate a crying baby. Smell wood. Move out of your parents' house. Gain the trust of a dog. Sweat. Don't shave your upper lip. So get ready for the single manliest journey of your life. And be sure to tell your friends, this mustache is a Movember mustache.